Well, welcome, Jeff.
Yay.
Yo, thanks so much for having me. Sorry about that. I was having some trouble, but I'm here now.
No worries. Thanks so much for sticking it out and getting in the room. I know everyone's really excited for this chat. We've got a bunch of content creators on Entre, and we invite you guys to join us on the stage to interact with Jeff as we talk about a really important topic, the future of content. Jeff has been kind of a techie since childhood. I'll let him tell the story of how he got into it, but also serial entrepreneur, recently moved down to the South Florida area and has made a big splash. As some of you may know, my name is Miriam, and I am a content or community manager here with Ryan. I have the pleasure of working on his team here at Entre, and I also am mostly based in Miami. Of course, I'm traveling a little right now for the summer because it's hot down there. And so having Jeff pop it onto the Florida scene as we're seeing a lot of flurry going on has been wonderful. We're going to take him through his thoughts on creator economy, his several different blogs that he manages, cancel culture. He's hosting rooms all over Clubhouse and doing rackets. We're going to talk about AI, GPT-3, how to monetize, how to repurpose, and just everything that you can think of on the various channels, etc. But happy to get your thoughts. Ryan, do you want to introduce yourself and then we'll go over to Jeff?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. For those who don't know me, my name is Ryan Solomon. A lot of you probably know me as Sully. I'm the head of community and content here at Entre. So I get to put on some awesome rooms alongside Miriam and Sean every single week. And actually, just to show you guys what we have cooking up real quick before we jump into everything, we're actually going to be doing another room tonight. So if you're on desktop, you're going to be able to see me screen sharing right now. So if I go here to the calendar, tonight I'm going to be talking with Dane Baker on sustainability and what that means. He's got a really, really cool startup in space. AMA with Ryan Kuhn, who scaled and sold his startup. Has a ton of insights. Next week, we have Gen Z talking crypto. So I got one really cool speaker working on a couple other ones. Funders and Founders Happy Hour. If you haven't been, it's one of our favorite events. We just get a ton of really awesome investors and entrepreneurs all on a Zoom together, put in breakout rooms, and just meet some incredible people. And then Creator Economy. Second one, I'm going to be cooking up some really, really awesome content creators. So we'll actually probably touch on that a little bit from probably mostly TikTok and probably elsewhere. For that event. And then the CEO and founder of Sweater Ventures, we're going to be doing a workshop with, and he's got a really, really cool platform, really, really cool company. And if you want to get your foot in the door and get some money into venture capital, this is definitely a really interesting place to be. Yeah, it's a fund that is open to the public. So it's a really, really cool company. So definitely scroll through and you can add any of these events directly to your calendar. And if you haven't already introduced yourself, make sure to come on to the feed and click create a post, and share who you are, what you're building, and what you're doing. Or if you have any thoughts on tonight's event. So that's me. If you have any feedback, don't hesitate to shoot me a message. And I'm going to pass it over to Jeff, and then we'll pass it over to Sean, who's one of our community managers as well. So Jeff, welcome.
Hey, Sully. Hey, Miriam. Hey, Sean. Hey, everyone. Really great to be here. I'm really stoked for this conversation. Miriam and I were talking about it for quite a while, so I'm really excited that we got it scheduled and that we're doing it. So I'm here for it. And yeah, I can talk a little bit about myself if you guys want me to do that real quick, or we can jump into the conversation, whatever you prefer.
I'd love to hear a little bio.
Okay. Cool. So, oh man, I got started as I came up with this term today, so bear with me. Basically, the term I came up with is a forever founder, and I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, it makes so much sense, and pretty much, what it is. And so, essentially, I've been building startups and communities since I was 13 years old. I got involved early in creating content online. Started my first site, which is still around today, called BestTechie, in 2003. I was 13 years old, which was pretty cool for the time. There weren't a lot of kids doing what I was doing. Now I feel like it's more commonplace, but even still. And I turned that site and I built it into a media business over the years while in school. And I also I led teams of journalists and bloggers, and we covered all kinds of great stories. I've done amazing podcasts with some of the best minds in tech on all different topics. I've also done, contributed to content to various publications online. Um, and I've also been featured in TechCrunch, Product Hunt, Forbes, the Washington Post, blah, 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 all that, good stuff. So I'm here to talk about content, which is something I'm super passionate about. And I can't wait. So I've been doing content for a while, and I'm now leveraging all this content and strategy experience that I've had over the past, Jesus, 18 years that I've been doing it. And I'm focused now on helping startups get the press, the PR, and kind of exposure and brand awareness that they deserve, especially focused in Florida, but also, willing to talk to people outside as well as we grow. But I think, there's not a huge tech media presence in Florida right now. And I think that there's a lot of startups that are building here that deserve to be recognized by more national outlets and things like that. So that's what I've been working on. But yeah, I'll pass it back to Miriam, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we just want to keep it conversational. I love it. Jeff, thanks for taking the time. Also, Ryan, Sweater Ventures, I swear the names of the VC firms coming out of this past year and a half, like, it's hilarious. I think that you had a tweet the other day and you were like, name your VC, and people were just having a great time. But Sweater Ventures, I'm like, I want to attend that event and just ask that question, like, where did you guys come up with that name?
I like the name.
Yeah, right? I'm like, you guys make me feel warm and fuzzy.
There are so many great names. Like I was trying to think of a name for this PR thing I'm doing, right? And I was like, I wanted something that's like 2 words or 1 word, but that's like, really simple, but like, it could be 2 words that don't typically go together, that kind of just go together in a way, like sound good, like Sweater Ventures, for example. So I totally get that.
Well, and what's your process with that? Because with content creating and the future of it, at this point, every .com domain is pretty much snatched up. So are you going to try to go for a .com? What is your process when thinking about a domain, a name for a brand?
Yeah. Oh man, I really like that question, especially since I literally just thought about that. So for me, what I did was I took a lot of time writing down like on my whiteboard like words. So I think I still have a bunch up there. So I'll read a couple. Progression, wave, think, serendipity, dope, synthesis, ruckus, lab, etc. And what I also did is checked out the thesaurus, and that's always helpful. Although it wasn't really that good, honestly, I felt like I had better luck just kind of doing it myself. Not luck, but just a better experience doing it myself. And then ultimately, the way I think about domains these days, like you mentioned, because .com is pretty much spoken for and taken a lot of the times. I am of the mindset these days, at least, that a .com is not a necessary thing. I think there's a lot of specialized domains that work, TLDs, I should say, that work really well. For my purposes, I went with the .digital. Actually, I did not go with the .com. But you know what? There are still good .coms out there, and I'll give you an example. I literally registered this just the other day, and this is actually also a good topic we could talk about maybe a little. I registered bestlaughEver.com, and it wasn't taken. And I'm using it for an NFT project now.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you're known for having the best laugh on Clubhouse. If you guys don't know already, Jeff Popular on Clubhouse. TLD also means top level domain, for those of you guys that don't know. I would love to just see some reactions from the audience. If you guys agree, put up some sort of reaction that you don't need to have a .com domain. The future of content is not .com. It's all of these other things going on and building, give us a reaction to let us know what your thoughts are on that. So you have Literally Ev, which I literally love the name of. So that's Literally Ev, and that's a project
I don't
that
remember
you,
how we actually, the way we came just quickly, the way we came up with that was Ev and I, my wife, who I call Ev and she calls me Ev. It's short for everything. I know, yeah. But we call each other Ev, and we were trying to come up with a domain name for something we could work on together, a project we could work on together. And we came up with Literally Ev because it's like literally everything. And it's like we want it to be literally everything about us and or the way we're thinking about stuff. And like anyway, so that's how we came up with that name. So similar process to what I described for Hype Lab, which I didn't actually share. That's the name I came up with, hypelab.digital.
Okay, perfect. So now we got Literally Ev, Hype Lab, which is a new PR firm. You're doing the NFT with your laugh. That's kind of like a side project. And then BestTechie is definitely, I would say, full-time. You're posting on there regularly. That's besttechie.com for those of you. So all over the space, how do you see this creator? Do you consider yourself a creator, or do you put people that are creators in like a different bucket, like people on TikTok or Twitchers or YouTube?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I definitely consider myself a creator. I think anyone who creates regularly and consistently and different types of content, whether it be audio, written, article form, or video, or really NFT, whatever, you're still a creator. I think that that's how I kind of view it, and I think as long as you're kind of doing it consistently, you can call yourself a creator.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into, when you're talking about the creator economy, these people that we're putting ourselves out there, we're posting stuff, we're creating things, we have to monetize it in order for it to like become part of the economy. So, and a lot of people just create stuff for free, right? So how is that going to go? How are we going to get to where this is a way that people can make more money off of it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think what's going to end up happening is that okay, quick history lesson, right? So I was reading this this tweet thread by Chris Dixon, who's a partner at Andreessen Horowitz, and he used to be a startup founder. Now he's a VC. Anyway, I was reading this thread that he wrote, and I thought it was really a fascinating read. Basically, he says, the gist of the thread is that he spent over the past 20 years, we've been building like the networks on the internet, and that social media networks like Instagram and Twitter, for example, they're all kind of like built on this idea that the users create the content for free, and then they're able to generate billions of dollars off the backs of what the users are doing, right? That's the general gist of Web 2.0, what it's been to date. And I think now one of the things we're doing is we're kind of entering this era of Web 3, right? Where I think, and I agree with what Chris has said on this, is that we have the chance to upgrade the networks on the internet to a more aligned system between the creators and the companies who build the networks, right? And I think that's where a lot of this crypto stuff is coming into play, and a lot of the blockchain and all that stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see how it kind of moves forward, and that how the creator space will be impacted by the rise of Web3.
Thank you for that history lesson.
To jump in real quick, can you give a quick explanation of what Web3 is to the audience and what it means?
Yeah. So Web3, I would say, is so if you when you hear people and companies talking about blockchain and decentralization and all that stuff, that's essentially that's when they talk about Web3. That's all the technologies that they're referring to that are going to be the building blocks for Web3. And what it does is it allows companies to or just allows new people to start companies that essentially, instead of, think about it like with Web 2, you were able to take the traditional economy and put it online. And now with Web 3, you're going to be able to build online economies, if that makes sense. It's just a whole, it's like everything you know about the web right now is literally going to probably change greatly in the next decade or so, decade, even less time, honestly. But by the next decade, things are going to be very different. I would say in the next 5 years, things are going to be significantly different.
Mm-hmm. When you're looking at, like, okay, third world countries, are they going to go from Web 1 to 2 to 3, or will they just jump from 0 to 3?
That's
I
honestly,
know this is just
I
your
don't know if
opinion.
I
You're
have
not
the
a
answer
future
to
teller.
that. I don't know if I have the answer to
Okay.
that. What I can tell you is
Right.
that if they can get online, they will. If they can get online, they'll be able to partake in the same experiences that the other parts of the world have. But I don't know what that looks like in terms of how built out it is there.
Right. Well, my prediction, just based on the definition that you just gave of Web3, which was very helpful, by the way, right? Because when people say, oh, Web 3.0, you're like, oh, am I going to have to download something? Like, do I need to update my software? Like, but it's the way that you've put it, it's just like the way that consumers are now using this technology, right? So my prediction is that a lot of them are going to skip straight to 3, bypass the 1 and the 2, or the 2 or whatever, because especially with blockchain, the cryptocurrencies, they're taking off in these other markets. And I think that it's very valuable in those areas. You know how I feel I've got a lot of mixed emotions back here in the US, but we have rooms separate on that. I want to shift a little bit. Oh, Ryan, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I also just wanted to, since we do have a pretty tight room here, if anyone in the audience does want to come up and join myself, Miriam, and Jeff, you're absolutely welcome to. I know we have some really interesting minds in the audience, so some people I've been talking to in a while. So I see Bianca, Patricia, John, Saw, Alfred, and Cameron. So if you guys do want to come up and join us, don't hesitate to. You just hit the little raise hand button and we'll bring you up on stage. But you can continue, Miriam.
Yay! Yeah, thanks. I want to talk a little bit about AI, GPT-3, Jeff, because when it comes to content, at least written, we're starting to see tons. I mean, every single day, another AI powered, mostly by GPT-3, is launching some sort of automated service, but we're seeing it too in video. Like, you don't even need to create videos anymore. The animators are coming out. You can animate stuff. So how do you see that playing a role, and how is that going to shift this 3.0 economy, whatever?
Yeah. So here's how I kind of see it, right? I don't think maybe people will disagree with me here, but I don't think GPT-3 is going to ever replace a real person in terms of a content creator. At least not anytime soon. It's good, but if you feed some stuff into it, what comes back is really, it's well written, but it's a whole lot of nothing. It doesn't really say very much. There's very hollow. It's not like you can't really dive deep and get a deep analysis on something with GPT-3. So I don't see it being a huge like thing. Maybe for a lot of like spam kind of quick, publish things to publish. I don't see it really doing anything in terms of like actual creators who create real content, who are going to build real audiences. It's always going to be more personal than that.
Nice. Good to hear that. Yeah. I know a lot of people they get upset with it and they think it's deceiving, right, to the reader and such. But I agree. I mean, you can't fake a personality. And, when you read your content on BestTechie, you can almost, that it's written by you, just as you feel like you're there with Jeff. I should totally agree with you on that.
And it's not just that; it's just that it's also that they just don't have the same depth of, not like in terms of, you don't know all the system doesn't know all the same things that you know. So there's no way it could truly replicate unless it had a copy of like your brain. And obviously the AI gets smarter, and I agree. But if you actually read some of the examples of things that it's written and outputted, it is not the same level. It writes at like, I think at like some grade school level. It's not like super advanced. It's not supposed to be, at least, but like it's not the information, like it doesn't know about like a startup I spoke with. I could say, what do you think of this? And it'll be like, well, I have nothing to base this on, especially if you're creating content that's never been done before.
Do you think, you just made me think, like, do you think kids are going to start using it for their homework and stuff? Like, can they do that?
But I bet their teachers would know.
Okay. What if the teachers start using it to grade stuff? Like, what about that? That would be kind of cool. Like, upload your class's essays and it spits out a grade or something. That could be something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how they would do it. Maybe they could. Maybe if there's like a backwards way to kind of see if if something was written by GPT-3 as opposed to a human, like a database of sorts. I'm not sure.
Why is everyone using GPT-3? Why is it? Who are their competitors?
Well, they're the best out there right now. I don't really know of any other competitor. And it's just an open source project, but I think you need to. I'm pretty sure you have to apply to gain access to it.
You do. It's you have to apply to get into a Slack group, and then whatever you build, you have to approve, because the AI is very, very powerful to where you could do some things that are not good for I don't want to say society as a whole, but like you could do some pretty mean things with really, really advanced AI like this. So you have to get your projects approved. So for example, Column, mine and Miriam's friend, he actually uses GPT-3 for something called Chewy AI, that you input what you're trying to build, and for a website, say like I'm selling blue shoes, it will create a whole website for you around your blue shoes and write all the copy, the blog, everything.
Yeah,
So,
I need to get on that.
Yeah, Jeff, I want to ask, are you on TikTok?
Am I on what?
TikTok.
I have an account. I don't really use it though. TikTok's an interesting platform for me. I get it, but I don't get it. And I don't get it because I probably don't spend enough time on it, I guess. But I also don't see a lot of the value that comes from some of these TikToks. I guess if you can create a series out of them, I could see, more value being given, which I guess some people do.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, it's not an entertain. It's also not that. I mean, there are a couple that I've like thought, oh, this is amazing. This is great stuff. But it's few and far between for me. So
Gotta get on the right side of TikTok then.
yeah,
Because like personally, I follow all entrepreneurs, people who are in crypto, NFTs, like that's like my entire feed, and it's pretty solid on that front. And then also getting what's it called, like just reach on TikTok is pretty impeccable.
that's
Having
true.
chances of something going viral,
Yeah.
that's my big thing. I'm curious. Honestly, I just know people who will like, I forget what the guy's product was, but he did a whole build in public thing where he built his entire product on TikTok. Like every single video was like a different update, like within a couple of days, and he geared his entire product roadmap based off of all the feedback he got on TikTok.
That's awesome. That's really fucking cool. I love that idea. There's also I know another person who has like a very unique business. She has like these like female like boob sweat protectors or something. And she didn't know how to market them, but she made a TikTok video and she started getting a bunch of orders. So I totally see that, and I think that's a brilliant use of the platform. If you're just looking to be a TikTok star, I don't have any advice for you on that, but I could tell you, if you're looking to use any platform, honestly, they all kind of follow a lot of the same principles in terms of, how to think about creating content for them, and like, what to look for when you do it before you actually do it.
Well, yeah, let's go through some of that because I am stretched out over. I'm on TikTok. I've got the Snapchat, although I don't post very much. Twitter, I just got into. Twitch, YouTube. Yeah. I'm on Facebook still, okay? Like Instagram, I got multiples. I got blogs. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, where do you put your focus? That's always the age-old question, right? For many founders and early startups. Where do you focus your efforts in terms of getting in front of potential customers or community? And the way I like to think about it is, first of all, I try and understand what my intent is on each platform. And to do that, you need to spend time creating for the platform. It's the only way you can figure it out. Because if you don't try and create for the platform, you won't learn the things you need to learn in order to do it. So if that's my first piece of advice. So spend like a good, I don't know, I would say a few days, maybe up to a week, kind of just playing with the app, seeing how it works, create some fun content around it, like just something fun, something to experiment with, right? And go through the process and figure it out. And then from there, once you have figured it out and you can see how the platform can help you based on your experiment. So for example, I'll give you an example. The other while back when I was learning about TikTok, I was also trying to learn more about Instagram Reels. So I created and I was also playing with YouTube Shorts at the same time. So I created this video where we got in this security system, and I wanted to create a little fun video showing it off a little bit about some of the features and things like that. And anyway, so I spent some time putting together this video, which I shared on TikTok and Instagram Reels. And that was so that was a fun little video project I did. And it just got me to understand like how to use TikTok. And then I tried some other kind of random videos that I just tried experimenting with, like shooting me cooking food. And that actually really blew up on TikTok. Stuff like that. So it's all about the experimentation at that point. And then once you have all that and you have your intent, that would be you could figure out your intent, which is, how do I want to leverage the platform to move forward with what my goals are? And then that's the number one.
Okay, and so And some of the platforms, you know, you can easily repurpose your content from one and put it onto another. It takes time. Do you suggest doing stuff like that?
Yes and no. What I suggest, if you repurpose content, make sure it's still if you're going to put it on a platform, make sure it feels native to that platform. You don't just want it to be like a repost that doesn't feel like it belongs on a platform. The other thing is, if you're going to repurpose, think about ways you can, break content up, as opposed to just posting, let's say, one really long video. Maybe you can split up that video into a couple different segments and upload those. That is also something that could be helpful in terms of repurposing. But you can also cut different clips and share them on different platforms. So like sometimes I'll cut a clip of a video podcast I did, and I'll share it on YouTube, and sometimes I'll also share a different one on Twitter, and just kind of test to see which one's performing better where, and also so yeah, so like those are some ideas in terms of repurposing. I hope does that answer your question? There's other things you can do too, but I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I just think of when we're talking about, okay, the future of content, blogging obviously has been one of the main content mediums for a lot of brands, because it's easy for Google and search engines or whatever to then find content that other people might be looking for and bubble it up, right? So now we have all these other types of content that are becoming popular, and you have all these different platforms. And if you're not doing something like on your own site, like you have your sites, if these platforms end up failing, or if they change their terms or whatever, then your content gets lost. You end up not having it anymore, and then we have things like this room, for example, is not recorded. This is a one-time thing. It's up there. It's poof gone after the experience is over, right? And so just thinking about kind of like repurposing or collecting it all and making sure you have it all, you can use it later, keeping it in some sort of repository for yourself. I can pause there, or I can just keep going, but what do you think about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, this newest content medium that we've seen is voice, right? And podcasts were blowing up prior to pandemic, and then pandemic happened, Clubhouse happened, then everyone has their own versions of Clubhouse with different features and new things. There's now, I know you're starting to be big on Racket, which is a platform where people can post like 9-minute audios. There's a lot of platforms. Adrian from Florida. He's building Voice Blast which is a place where you post different up to 20 seconds of voice, and then people can respond to it in voice. There's another app called Ent that I got on, and it's like similar with voice messages and stuff. What are your thoughts on this whole voice medium, whether it be temporary conversations or permanent things that are going out? How is it going to change podcasting? What are your thoughts on it? And I'll share some of mine. I'd love to get Ryan. I see we have Jesus on stage. And again, as we're rounding at the last 20 minutes of this conversation, anyone from the audience can please join us on stage as well.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So a couple things. One, I think that it's always good to own your own hub. But that being said, I believe that now there are really good ways to leverage social platforms and be on various different ones and still own your own hub. And I think that it's actually better to start utilizing these different platforms to build business and to generate traction for yourself or whatever, because you should be where your audience is. And essentially, sometimes, it's while it's good to have your own main kind of website or whatever, um, at the end of the day, it's still easier to build kind of traction on a social platform than I think sometimes it is to invest in, let's say, SEO, which could take multiple months. You can do the same thing on a social platform, if you really take advantage of it and do the same thing. But yeah, I think in terms of social audio, it's a really interesting platform. I'm a huge fan of it. I think I'm a huge fan of it for a few reasons. One, I think it's really easy to jump into an audio setting, whereas it's not as easy always to jump into a setting when you have video. And I also think that social audio it requires less bandwidth. This from a technical perspective, but I think it requires less bandwidth, which means it's more accessible to more people, which is good. It also is a just really great way for people to talk to one another, and I think that it raises the level of communication more than just text has in the past. So I think it could be as big as text. I mean, we've seen a lot of companies try and make bet on audio, and like the fact voice search, and Amazon Alexa and all that stuff. So in a way, I think we're right on target where in terms of the social audio kind of coming into existence, in my opinion. So I do think it's going to stay.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on I love Clubhouse. I love Clubhouse. I love Entre Rooms. These are popping off. We have like a lot of great features here. And it would be cool to have them recorded, which I know we are planning on doing. I hope I didn't let anything out of the bag, Ryan, with that. But the things like, okay, for text message, for example, I hate it when people send me voice notes to listen to, because it takes me longer to listen to them than it does for me to read. Like, my brain can process written words faster than it can hear things. And I get that it's easier for someone to talk versus text. Like, I use the type to text feature a lot. So I get that. But I don't listen to podcasts because I get distracted and then I have to rewind. And yeah, so for me, it's just a little bit of a different thing with the voice stuff. But I think it's interesting that they're happening, and I guess I want to try Racket. I do want to try Racket. Ryan, Jesus, what do you guys think?
I personally love the voice messages on iMessage. Depends who I'm talking to, but I'm a big fan of them because I like, you get to actually hear, like, when someone says something versus when you read it, you can hear in their voice how they feel about it. Oh, excuse me. So that's the one thing I kind of like about it. I don't like it all the time. I like it for certain people, certain contexts, and like being able to actually understand who they are and what they're saying. That's kind of my take. Jesus?
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm Jesus. And yeah, to that point, I actually really like it a lot because it's a lot faster. So I really, rather go that route because I can just make a message a lot quicker. But other than that, like, like me personally, I'd rather go that route. But yeah, that's my take on that.
Yeah, I do like that voice is less pressure than video, where you can just be casual and You don't have to worry about filters, things of that nature. So there is that plus there for those. Do you have what stats available, Jeff, for us to simmer on, like in terms of Racket? I know you're on there. Like what's that looking like? You're big on the other voice platforms.
Yeah, I don't have any stats. They don't make them up. They don't make them available, at least yet. But I think Racket's growing, based on what I've seen, and which is great. I honestly, I think the reason why I recommended earlier that you need to be on a platform where your audience is because and the reason why I also mentioned why you need to test out the platform as a user, because that's how you find where your audience is. And so it doesn't matter how big or small platform is per se, as long as you're connecting with the right people. So that's what I would recommend people focus on, identifying where their audience is and showing up there.
Does Racket let you monetize?
No.
No.
Nope.
Do they have plans for it? Do you know?
We didn't discuss that when I spoke with the guy who founded it. But I would imagine that they do have plans for a lot of that stuff. It's just a question of how do right now I think monetization is a very tough thing to do when you're not at scale for these companies. And I also think that creators should think outside of the box in terms of just relying on individual platforms to enable some kind of monetization before they start monetizing. There's always lots of ways you can monetize a platform, whether it be on the platform or off the platform.
Okay, let's talk through some of those, because I know money is always on top of people's minds.
Sure.
How do we make the money? How do we make the cash?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? So for example, for me, I've spent a lot of time on Clubhouse building relationships with different tech startups, right? And offering, my time and my thoughts, my value, articles, helping them craft their messaging and all that stuff, right? And now I'm leveraging all those connections I've made over the past several months and continuing to make because of just the existing network that I've made. And I'm turning that into potential clients for myself and things like that. So that's what I mean when you monetize off platform, right? So Clubhouse may not have a way for me to create a paid Florida Entrepreneurs Room right now, but that doesn't really matter to me. And honestly, that probably wouldn't make as much money as me providing some kind of value, adding some kind of service. Even if we had the greatest guests, I still don't think that would generate the kind of revenue that I would be looking for. I mean, it would be nice. It could be a nice extra, but I always advocate creators, because this is what I've always done, have multiple revenue streams coming in, not just rely on one.
How much money do you think is possible for like an average salary for a content creator in the future too, as well? Like where is it?
Oh man, I don't know. It varies. I mean, there's so many factors in that question, Miriam. I could tell you that if you create it depends, right? So like I create a lot of content, and now I'm kind of focusing on monetizing the content through services, right? So it's not that I'm necessarily monetizing the content, I'm monetizing the service that I'm attaching or providing because I created the content as like a marketing vehicle, or a way to build community, or things like that. So like content is for me, I create a lot of content because I love it, and sometimes I do get paid for creating the content, right? But most of the time, I focus on creating the content in a way that adds value, and that so I can monetize it later, and now through services. So it's like an investment.
I met a guy the other day that literally gets paid to build communities for brands. Like, that's his job.
Yep.
Who is that?
That Paul guy, I invited you to his community thing, that call. I should invite you to, Jeff, actually.
Sure.
I'm gonna look at it. Wait, is it this week?
I don't know. I think so.
We'll figure it out.
It's on the calendar. It'll happen. Sean, Cameron, would love for you guys to join us if you guys have questions for Jeff as we're wrapping this up. What about, let's talk a little bit about collaboration and content, collaborating with other content creators. Do you have any recommendations for people on that, or going about that? How's that going to play out in the future?
So content collaboration is the name of the game, honestly. You got to collaborate with other creators, with other creators, because there's just when you align, when you can find someone whose content aligns with your content, or even if it's different but your values align, it's really great to be able to work with them. And the reason for that is, you get to double your reach, or triple, or whatever, all automatically, just by having someone else in there. It also makes it more fun, more engaging, and you're more likely to make some news if you collaborate in the right ways. So whether that be with another person, or a company, or another brand, or whatever, that's how you're gonna really find breakthrough success. I found, especially on platforms like I've seen people leverage collaborations on TikTok. In my time there, collaborations are extremely helpful on Clubhouse. Twitter is more of like a solo thing, but Twitter is also not really a platform that I think many people think of in terms of building like a creator, like building up creators, because they really don't. But you can meet a lot of really great creators on there, and who create on different platforms. So it's another place you should be to find people to collaborate with. But yeah, the best way is to really check out their work, appreciate their work, and be like, hey, would you I do I'm doing this, I had this idea, would you be interested in collaborating with me on it? And that's how I would do it.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Sean, you go.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the collaborations. I've seen a lot of collaborations lately, and they are hitting numbers that on their usual account they would never touch. And it's funny too, because it actually kind of drags into one of the things. It ended up getting bad publicity, but long story short, what I wanted to kind of get into is bad publicity good or bad in this day and age? In your take?
I still believe that all publicity is good publicity. It's unless you're a murderer, I guess. But but yeah, I think it's all pretty good. At the end of the day, even with cancel culture type stuff, you can only be canceled for so long. I hate to say it, but like, it's true. Eventually people are going to be uncanceled. We've already seen it happen. And they'll be back at it. So if anything, it just brings their recognition, name recognition up.
Gotcha.
I'm a
Yeah.
sarcasm.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jesus. You had your hand raised.
Yeah, so question for you, Jeff. So what's it gonna be like when it comes to standing out in the future with everybody getting into content and whatnot? What do you think it's gonna be like? Maybe the top 3 things or 3 ways to really stand out. I wanna know what you think about that.
Yeah, great question, man. Honestly, I feel like the recommendations I'm gonna make are the same that I would make now, and the reason for that is because the I what you need to do to be successful as a creator really doesn't change over or change platform to platform in principles. It's more about that how you leverage what you've learned onto that platform and as you understand it, right? So so my recommendations would be top 3: continue to experiment, repurpose effectively, and collaborate.
Love those. Yeah. Patricia is here. Let's bring her up. Hey, Patricia. It's been a while. How are you? You're on mute.
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't find my headset, so that's why I wasn't, chiming in. And then I don't know what it was happening. I was going into the matrix, but I'm just enjoying the conversation and just taking notes. Thank you for inviting me up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I'm sorry. I thought you had a question. I saw your hand raised, but
Oh, I'm
it's just great
sorry.
to
I
see
might
you.
have just been my fat fingers. Okay, no, I'm just sitting back. I'd rather have headsets on, so I'll just mute again.
Great
Thank
to have
you.
you. Great to see you. Jeff, also, this has just been really, really nice to have an hour or two myself and share you with my Entre fam. I know we're in our clubhouse room weekly, twice a week, chatting about numerous topics, but this has been really great to kind of get your thoughts on some of this future of content. And I love your blog, love reading it and subscribing to it. And I feel like it helps me stay connected to Miami when I'm not around. What are some of the thoughts that you have just for the South Florida scene? I know you bring up often we don't have the tech coverage that we deserve, and you're making a fantastic effort to change that, and which is appreciated. Any thoughts on that as we start to kind of wind down the room?
Yeah, I think the future of tech is looking promising here. I think we're seeing a lot of people have moved here, are moving here, continuing to building companies here. We've seen already a great start of companies that have been launching here, and I think it's it's going to be the home of crypto, which is going to be really good, blockchain as well, and I'm really excited about it. So I think that ultimately I'm long Florida tech, right? So I think that what's going to end up happening is we're going to see all these companies continue to innovate and do things and build out and grow, and there's going to be more companies that are going to come in that we don't even know about right now, and over the next several years we'll start seeing really big companies come out of Florida, and I can't wait. And that's the long play. And I think over the course of those years, what I'm going to be working on is getting as much people aware of what's happening here as possible. And and I think that it's gonna look funny in several years from now, next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, when we're talking about this now, and it's like, yeah, remember when no one even talked about like Florida tech at all nationally or globally, but now we have some of the biggest tech companies in the world here. That's how I see it.
I'm just doing a little applause
Nice.
here.
Everyone's moving to Miami because of Suarez and because of taxes, and I love it. He's the boy.
Well, all of the Entre team is welcome down anytime. Jeff, thank you so much for taking time and checking out our platform. I'm eager to get your feedback on how you like the rooms over here. So we'll definitely be reaching out to you about that. If anyone wants to get in touch with Jeff, he doesn't have his info in his profile just yet, but he is at BestTechie.com. And we're going to be wrapping up this room. It's been lovely to have everyone here today. And so, yeah, Ryan, any last closing thoughts? I know you've got to jump. There's another room happening in like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for popping in. Make sure to check out the upcoming events on the calendar. And Jeff, we'd love to have you for something else in the future. Or if you ever want to start hosting some of your own rooms on here and testing it out, I can send you a little info. We can get you set up if you want to start hosting your own rooms on here to play around with it. Going to be launching on Product Hunt for the full public launch of V2 here soon. And
Very cool. Very cool.
So yeah. Awesome.
Definitely. Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.